everybody, and welcome to my video today. I have a traditional layout that I'm going to share. This is to finish up the first half of my Project Life album, my January through June. I needed one traditional layout. I have a photo of Kayla and I, and one other photo. I will end up not using the second photo. It was a get together that we were at, and I only ended up having two photos from basically the event, one of Kayla and I, and then one of kind of everybody else at the table. And I end up just using the one of Kayla and I. Now I'm going to use that paper that I just flipped through. It's a paper pack I got, I don't know, probably 6 years ago, and I've never used it. It was one of those like impulse purchases. I was out with a friend and we both got it, and then I just never used it. And then the next thing I'm doing is I'm flipping through my scrapbook and card magazines because these have sketches in them. And oftentimes I like to use a sketch as a jumping off point. Now I don't think I end up following it at all. And that's a lot of times what happens is I will start out looking at a sketch or something that like I'm inspired by, or another page that I'm inspired by. And I will think that I'm going to follow it pretty closely, and then I end up not following it at all. And it just is a place to start for inspiration. The two magazines that I grabbed, unfortunately, had a lot of card sketches, but they didn't have a lot of the memory keeping scrapbooking type sketches in the 12 by 12. But sometimes just flipping through these and looking at the different pages, I really liked that one that said Holly Jolly that had the strips down the middle. And I thought like, oh, that would be cute to use with like the paper, because the paper is this very like travel Paris kind of paper. And that's obviously not the theme of the photo. So I thought, oh, that would give me a good opportunity to use lots of different of the designs of paper. I end up not going in that direction at all, but that's where I started. So I'm going to flip through here and I'm going to pull out a few of the pieces. The nice thing about this particular paper pack is that it is not double-sided paper. So you don't have to choose between one design or another. Like whatever the design is, that's the design. So I'm going to pull out a few. I'm going to use the floral pieces, that really large floral piece, as sort of not my theme, but like the main star of the layout, basically. And that would be really pretty to do, also to spray that paper with glitter and have all that floral be really glittery. I loved the hearts. That will be another theme that you will see. And then I will also use gold accents. So I pulled out a few. And at this point, as I was looking through the paper, I was realizing like I probably wasn't going to do those strips of paper. I could have, but I just, as I saw the paper, I started thinking in a different direction. So I also love the gold. Like I don't tend to lean towards gold. It's not my favorite accent, but for this particular layout, I felt like the gold accent would be really good. And at this point, I'm still planning on using both photos, but then later on, I will end up just choosing to use the photo of Kayla and I. And that's another thing that I don't normally do. I normally don't do one photo on a 12 by 12. Like if I only have one photo to use, particularly that one where I could cut it down, there's just a lot of wall next to Kayla and I would normally do that in an 8.5 by 11. But this layout needed to go on the back of an app print that was already there. So it needed to be 12 by 12. And so I end up going ahead and doing that, just using the one photo. And it ends up working out fine. I also will need to bring in a solid color. I feel like probably the blue will work. I didn't want to do too much pink because I'm wearing black in the photo and Kayla is wearing blue. So I didn't want to do a lot of pink. And then here is where I'm going to cut that photo down to 4 1/4. So there's a lot of wall there. And then I will mount this on the blue. I think that's Pool Party from Stampin' Up. I just got in my scraps, and all the scraps that I have are Stampin' Up, and they are organized by color. So that makes it easy. So I'm going to have that mounted so that it pops a little bit more off the paper, off that pattern paper. I have a striped paper and then that floral paper. So the thing is that floral paper is very, very busy. So there's a lot of colors, there's a lot of flowers. They're larger, there's some that are smaller, and then that would be fine to use. But I felt like I needed something a little less busy to break it up. So that is where I used that stripe paper. And then also here is where you see, I realized like I'm not going to do that striped, the pieces of paper down the middle with all the different designs. So I'm flipping back through here and just trying to find something that maybe speaks to me. I don't think I really end up finding anything that it seems all that exciting to me. So I think I end up just going about and doing whatever I want. But you get the idea that that's where my inspiration a lot of times will start. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is grab the piece of designer paper that has all the hearts on it, and we're going to use that. That's a nice solid color with some accents. And then I figure I'll just use the photo of Kayla and I, and I will add some hearts as an accent, and that will be my paper. So I'm just cutting these thin strips. I think it's a quarter of an inch. It's just, I use that line on my trimmer right there a lot for this size. I'm going to do 2 on one side and then 1 on another side. And then I thought I would use some of these cutouts. There's that one that says, "Hello, gorgeous." And there's a couple other ones. And I just thought I would, like, I can cut out the pieces that are like lipstick or high heels, or like if it doesn't match what I'm doing. I didn't want to do like too many of those symbols because that's not really the layout, but I can trim some of that off. So I'm just going to trim some of these. You can just use your trimmer, you can use scissors, and then I put all of these pieces back in the paper pack. Once I was done, I just put, that's the nice thing about storing your paper in a plastic bag, is if you cut stuff apart and you don't use it, you can just stick it right back in there. So I'm just going to cut a couple of those apart, and then we will get to putting the layout together. I want to have several options available. I always like to have more options rather than not enough. And then I pulled out my heart container, and I just have a container that has all different kinds of hearts. So you can see it's glitter hearts, it's chipboard, it's wood pieces. It's just anything that is a heart is in that container. And I knew that I wanted to use some hearts. So at first I was thinking I would use that puffy heart that says love. That's from Ali Edwards. That was my original idea that I was going to go for. I will end up not using that. I think the pink was a little bit off, is what I think really at the end, when I was trying to decide, I think the pink was just a little bit off. And I'll fix my mat in 1 minute. I know it's totally crooked and that's probably annoying, but just give me a second and I'm sure that I will fix it. So I'm going to put these together. I ended up just using liquid glue. I did not feel like grabbing my my pink adhesive. What is that called? I forget. My big pink adhesive gun. I didn't feel like grabbing it. So I just used liquid glue. Whenever you're using liquid glue on this, you saw that I spread the glue out really well. And then when I put it on the paper, I'm just pressing it in and basically spreading that glue out on the back so that it doesn't bubble. And then the adhesive gun probably would have worked, my ATG gun, because these strips are wide enough, it would have been fine. But it's also easier sometimes to just use the glue, and that works fine. So I added these 2 strips on the end, and again, I'm just pulling in some of the pink and then really some of that gold, because I started to realize that I would probably use gold as an accent so that I could bring in some other hearts that maybe had gold or some other elements. I could have brought in ribbon or twine, anything like that. I also could have done some die cutting and done gold foil. That would have worked as well. So I just knew as I was building the page that I wanted a couple other elements. And that is oftentimes what I will do is add, I know when I'm building the paper, when I'm putting down the layers, that is going to be the foundation of what I'm going to do. And so those elements I will pull in later. And so that was my main reason for choosing the heart. Paper is that color. I felt like grounded it a little bit better. And then it has those hearts. So I will use my tape runner on the photo. I don't always like to use liquid glue on my photos. And I will touch that, and then I will pop that piece up. I always like to add foam to my photos particularly, so we will do that. And then some of the other elements that I will work with will be popped up as well. And I am running really low on that foam. I need to order some more. Those foam pieces are always the foam tape that I use, and the foam sheets that I use are all linked in my Amazon storefront under adhesive. That is an easy way for me to organize everything for you. I do make a commission off of Amazon, but it is pennies. It is really not anything at all. I get a check maybe once every 2 or 3 years, and it's like $11. So it's not all that exciting. It really is just a way for me to organize my favorite things that I get. And like most people, I purchase a lot of things on Amazon. So here you can see I'm just adding some pieces and I'm shopping them around the page. I'm just seeing. I'm not gluing anything down because I'm not sure exactly how everything's going to look. I originally thought I would use those two hearts. That one's a Bermuda Bay heart and one is a blue heart, and I would layer those together. Those colors actually look really good with the layout, but then all these other pieces that you can see that I'm trying to work in, they're just not working. And that love, again, I think that the color of pink was just off a little bit. It was more peachy than I liked. And I mean, it would have worked. It's not totally horrible. I mean, if I really loved it, I could have made it work, but the color was just a little off to me, or maybe it was too much pink. Maybe that color was just, I was overwhelmed by the color pink because there's a lot of it. The funny thing is Kayla's not a huge pink person, and neither am I really, and this does not go at all with, when you see it in my album, it really stands out. It doesn't, which not everything has to match, not every single page you do has to match. I tend to have more cohesive months where I will use the same product throughout the month, and I just didn't on this layout. I just went a totally different direction. So here I am just pulling some of those other pieces and trying to figure out what I feel looks the best. And I think it's about that time that I realized that is not going to work. Like the pink heart is not going to work. I had these gold hearts that I thought would pull in the gold, but they were gold glitter, and the hearts that are on here are foil, which is totally fine to mix and match that. But I just wasn't positive. I know I'm pretty positive where I want the photo placement, so I'm going to go ahead and attach that. Sometimes you just have to dive in and start making decisions. Like I can play around with this all day long and never get anything glued down and get caught up in every single little decision and every single small embellishment that I'm going to use. But at some point you just have to dive in, start gluing things down, and then trust the process that it will all come together. So I'm still a little bit unsure of the blue hearts just because of the size of them, not the color. I'm loving the color on them, which is why I wanted to use them, but I'm just not sure about the sizing. And then I also start to feel like things are stacking, like they're just diagonal like stairs stacking on the layout, which would have been fine. That would have been a great design. But I just am wanting more of a cluster in the bottom corner. And a lot of that is because I just have one photo. So I know that I need a couple larger elements, and it will be better on when I'm looking at the page if things are clustered a little bit into the corner. So I want to use this Hello Gorgeous, but I don't need the lipstick or the drinks or whatever it is that are surrounding that. It's just really not the feel of the, also felt a little weird to like, I guess those didn't have to be alcohol drinks, but I was feeling like they were, and I felt like it was a little weird to put that embellishment on my page with my 15-year-old daughter. Like, I don't know, it just felt a little weird. And it really wasn't the vibe that I was going for. So here I am, adding that strip definitely starts to make those hearts work a little bit better with the next element. But in just a minute, I'm going to give up on those hearts, and I'm just going to realize like it's not going to work. The sizing of them, as pretty as they are, and it brings in more of that blue, it just isn't working. So I could do that as the title. That's the other thing that I considered, is that Hello Gorgeous can work as a title. Now, I'm a big fan of like cutting out a title or like putting together a title. That is not just a strip of paper, but I really struggle with titles. It's something that I'm just not creative when it comes to titles. And so that lets me off the hook. And anything that's going to let me off the hook from the layout being harder, I will always take. So I will just use the Hello Gorgeous as the title of the page. I love those hearts. The gold glitter hearts are a much better size for what I'm trying to do. So I realized that. And then here you can start to see the grid that is starting to come together. Now, this is how it ended up looking. So most of this, I think, is all glued down now. My photo is on foam. The circle, the flower circle, is not, because I will do handwriting, like I'll handwrite my journal on that. I wanted that flat. The looking good is popped up, and then the large hearts are not popped up. They're just glued down, and then the smaller hearts are popped up. Then I'm taking these mini hearts that just happen to be in that really pretty color. I think those are from Studio Calico, and I got them from Ali Edwards, I believe, in a kit. And I'm just clustering these in different spots. And that is going to be how the layout ends up coming together. Super simple. I know I fussed around with it for quite a while, really deciding to just use one photo, and the size of the layout, the 12 by 12 layout. That's what threw me, is because I had originally planned on having 2 photos. I will just throw that second photo away. It's nothing special. It just was like everybody at the table. I will just throw the photo away. I have that photo on my camera roll, so I don't need to keep it. I don't need to keep a hard copy of it. And I didn't use it, so I just threw it away, and I don't have a problem doing that. I don't need more photos sitting around that aren't getting used. So let's bring my album over, and I just shared a walkthrough of this album and the journaling and all the tabs and the calendars getting done. And this was the last piece of that album that I needed to do, that I needed to get figured out. So here is that layout. You can see it does not match my June peaches vibe at all. I like the way it came out. It does look really nice. I need to do the journaling on that. But that wraps up my album for January through June, which is so nice. I'll just add the journaling. And then I have since added the information to my calendars and any of the hand journaling that needed to be done. And that is a wrap for that album, which is awesome. So I hope you enjoyed seeing this video, and I will catch you in my next video next week sometime when we start Craftmas. And then here are 2 other videos on the screen that you can check out if you would like. Please hit the like button on this video so YouTube will be kind to me. And I hope that you're having a wonderful week, and I will catch you in my next video.